Let me invite everyone to come on in and take a seat, and we'll get started. And I promise we heard you loud and clear. We built in lots of times for visiting and networking, and we're going to have a good time in the next couple of days. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2019 North Carolina Rural Assembly. As the only statewide organization with an exclusively rural mission, our role here at the Center is to provide you, our rural partners, with the space you need to connect, convene, and collaborate. We've accomplished the convening part, so now these next 2 days are all about providing you with ample space and time to connect and to collaborate with each other and to share in what is our favorite time of the year. We think of this event as our annual rural homecoming for our leaders and partners, and each year we hope to give you a reason to celebrate all that is special about our rural communities. And this year we're going to celebrate like never before. A few days after the end of the 2018 Rural Assembly, the Rural Center staff gathered to review your feedback. We asked you to tell us what worked and what didn't work last year. And we value your input, and last year was no different. We had some great input. You spoke, and we really have tried to listen. Over the past year, we have worked diligently to create the best possible rural convening for you, focused on the issues most pressing to the future of rural North Carolina. We heard from you the desire for more breakout sessions with a deeper dive into topics relevant to your work and your community. We also heard that you wanted more time to network with old friends and meet some new ones. You will see in your agenda that we have created the time and space for you to do exactly that. The Rural Center staff, board, and I are grateful to be working with you here today and every day throughout the year. You hold us accountable to the work that must be done across this great state. Now I'd like to do some recognitions. First, if you're a member of the Rural Center's Board of Directors, would you please stand and be recognized? We had a great annual meeting of our Rural Center Board and our Thread Capital Board yesterday. A lot of energy and a lot of things we're looking forward to as 2020 begins to unfold. I want to thank the board for all that they do for the Rural Center and for rural North Carolina. And I want to recognize two special board members who are leaving us after many, many years of service, collectively between them decades of service to the Rural Center Board and to rural communities. I'd like to ask Patricia Ferguson and Leslie Boney to please stand and be recognized. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize elected officials at all levels who are in the room today. So particularly, I know we've got at least one or two members of the General Assembly. Would members of the General Assembly please stand? We have some staff from many of our congressional offices and our U.S. Senate offices. Would the congressional staff please stand? And would all if you serve in a local elected office, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you for your support, your advocacy, and your dedication to rural North Carolina. I'd also like to recognize not really a new face, but a new face in the role that he currently serves in, and that is Robert Hosford, the new State Director of, relatively new, State Director of USDA Rural Development. Robert? This is a guy you need to know. Through his programs at USDA Rural Development, they put every year in and year out, around $1.5, $1.6 billion into our rural community. So he's an important person to know. In addition to today being the first day of our Rural Assembly, it is also National Rural Health Day. We are grateful for the contributions of individual healthcare providers and for national and statewide organizations working to expand access to quality medical, mental health, and dental services in our rural communities. So I know we got a lot of practitioners and a lot of professionals working in rural health. Would all of you please stand? And where's my friend Maggie Sauer, the Director of the Office of Rural Health? All the rural health folks, please stand and be recognized. North Carolina had the first Office of Rural Health in the United States, and now every state has one, so we led the way in that. And Maggie does a great job carrying on that great tradition that Jim Bernstein put in place. A Rural Assembly event booklet was waiting on you when you took your seat today. If you did not get one, extra copies are available at the registration desk out front. This booklet is your resource guide for these next 2 days. It is your go-to source for everything from the breakout descriptions to the hotel Wi-Fi password. If you can't find what you need, please do not hesitate to stop a Rural Center staff member. Just look for the yellow badge. If they cannot help you, they will find the right person who can. Before we begin our program today, I'd like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors for their support of the 2019 Rural Assembly. This event would not be possible without their support, so let me begin by recognizing each of them. And if representatives are in the room, I ask you to please stand and remain standing. BB&T, Duke Energy, North Carolina Farm Bureau, North Carolina Community Foundation, North Carolina's Electric Cooperatives, North Carolina State Extension, South State Bank, United Community Bank, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, Carolina Complete Health, Carolina Farm Credit, Cloudwise, Delta Dental, First National Bank, NC IDEA, Wells Fargo. I also want to take a minute to recognize some very important partner organizations, very important partners to the Rural Center. The Blue Ridge National Heritage Area, the Institute for Emerging Issues, North Carolina East Alliance, StarWorks, North Carolina, Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, Croatan Coffee, and I want to let you know they were going to be with us the entire time sharing some of their great product with you, but they're a small business run by a military serviceman who received orders this morning that he couldn't leave base. And so these are some of the challenges that our rural entrepreneurs face every day, and we encourage all of you to always support those veteran-owned businesses, and we'll look forward to seeing Croatan Coffee in the future. Jackson County Green Energy Park and Lake Gaston Coffee Company. Please join me in a round of applause for these great sponsors. Our theme for the 2019 North Carolina Rural Assembly is Make Your Place, Create, Transform, Celebrate. Our goal with the Assembly this year is to foster conversations about how we approach rural economic and community development differently, how we can get out of the box and think about how to address the challenges in our own backyards that our communities face, how we can identify new assets, maybe hiding in plain sight, and untapped opportunities, and leverage those findings to make our community sites of transformation for the future. To that end, we had to be equally as creative and innovative in planning this year's assembly. As a result, we found a way to get a rock band to deliver a keynote. It's the first time we've ever begun a rural assembly with a drum set on the stage. And have included breakout sessions that cover topics like how landfills can become local economic engines and how we can create more resilient towns in the face of natural disaster. Now I want to call to your attention a special resource table that will be set up throughout our 2 days together and hosted by the U.S. Census Bureau and the North Carolina Counts Coalition. I hope you'll spend some time visiting with Elisa, Carol, and Maria, And as you know, 2020 is a census year, and given the ways in which our state is changing, there's never been a more urgent need that rural North Carolina have a full and accurate count next year between the 1st of April and the end of July. It is on the basis of that 2020 census count that millions of dollars in federal and state resources will be allocated to your communities, and seats in the U.S. Congress and the North Carolina General Assembly will be apportioned on the basis of that count. To ensure rural North Carolina isn't shortchanged in the process, all of us need to work together to make sure every man, woman, and child living in rural North Carolina is counted. I encourage every person in this room to play a role next year in ensuring that your community in all of rural North Carolina has that full and accurate account. And Alyssa, Carol, and Maria will be glad to help you find out ways that you can get involved locally. Our communities are changing places, and now more than ever, we have to be creative about how we adapt to and address that change in a way that doesn't leave people behind. It's crucial we create new and possibly unconventional partnerships and connect with those working every day to transform their communities. And that in our pursuit, we take the time to celebrate each other's achievements. I'm excited for what lies ahead for us these next 2 days and the places that we will go in order to make them together.